In the middle of Egypt's desert, a brand new capital city is rising, complete with Africa's tallest skyscraper, 20 towers, and a palace fit for a pharaoh. It was meant to prove Egypt's rebirth, but 10 years later, it's mostly empty and the country can't pay for it. Why build a city like this? And what went so wrong along the way? To find out, we need to go back to the problems Cairo was facing and the political moment that gave birth to this project. In 1950, Cairo housed 2.5 million people. Today, over 23 million are crammed into a city never designed for this scale. The costs are staggering. Traffic congestion and air pollution, which kills 18,000 people annually, drain an estimated 3 to 5% of Egypt's GDP every year. But el-Sisi had another concern: control. In 2011, protesters occupied Tahrir Square for 18 days, paralyzing the government. Millions gathered within walking distance of Parliament and the presidential palace. For el-Sisi, a former general who seized power in 2013, the message was clear. Cairo's layout made it impossible to defend against mass demonstrations. So in March 2015, he announced a solution: build a completely new capital 45 kilometers east of Cairo in an empty desert, far from congested streets, far from Tahrir Square. The vision was ambitious: a clean, modern metropolis spanning 700 square kilometers, designed to eventually house 6.5 million people. Every ministry, embassy, and government office would relocate. Smart city technology throughout, green spaces, wide boulevards designed for security and surveillance, not protest blockades. The initial budget? $45 billion. Completion target 2022. Crucially, el-Sisi promised private investment would fund everything: UAE partners, Chinese developers, international firms. Egyptian taxpayers wouldn't pay a cent. Everything looked perfect on paper. But within months, the plan started to unravel, and what got built and who actually paid for it tells a very different story. Construction began in 2016. 45 kilometers east of Cairo, between the Cairo-Suez and Cairo-Ain Sokhar roads, sits a patch of empty desert. Far enough from Cairo's congestion to start fresh, close enough to remain connected. Construction was divided into 3 phases. The initial master plan was designed by international architecture firm Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, then developed by Dar el-Handasa. The vision? A smart city monitored by over 6,000 surveillance cameras with AI systems managing water use and waste collection. Residents would report issues through a mobile app, a digital metropolis rising from sand. Phase 1 covered 168 square kilometers, about the size of Washington, D.C. The goal? Create a functioning seat of government. The first major completion was the Parliament building in 2022. It houses 596 members across a complex designed to handle Egypt's entire legislative apparatus. Then came the Presidential Palace in 2023, officially named the Garuda Palace. Sprawling across vast grounds, it features an eagle-shaped facade with 4,661 precision-engineered metal blades weighing 1,400 tons. The Misra Islamic Center opened in 2023. At $20.7 million, it's one of Africa's largest mosques, featuring the world's tallest pulpit at 17 meters and the heaviest chandelier at 24 tons. The Cathedral of Nativity of Christ sits nearby, a massive Coptic Orthodox structure. The iconic tower topped out in 2024. At 385 meters and 77 floors, it's Africa's tallest building. China's State Construction Engineering Corporation built it in 43 months as part of a $3.8 billion central business district featuring 20 towers. The Central Business District doesn't just house offices. Plans call for 40,000 hotel rooms to support business travelers and tourists, plus a technology and innovation park intended to attract international firms. A diplomatic quarter is reserved for embassies of what the government calls friendly countries. The Octagon became operational in 2024. Spanning 22,000 acres, this $400 million complex is the world's largest administrative building, housing 10 ministerial complexes designed for 34 ministries. 14 have been relocated so far. Originally, the government planned to move over 30,000 employees between 2020 and 2022. COVID-19 and construction delays pushed that timeline to 2023, then 2024. Even now, most government workers commute from Cairo rather than relocate. Housing costs remain prohibitive. April 2024 marked the transition. President el-Sisi was sworn in for his third term at the new parliament, officially making the NAC Egypt's capital. Over 1,000 residential units stand completed. A Central Park twice New York's Central Park size stretches through the city. The infrastructure exists. The buildings are operational. This Green River Park features artificial lakes and green corridors designed to combat Egypt's notorious heat. Plans also include 90 square kilometers of solar energy farms, one of the largest solar installations in Africa, and a monorail system linking the capital to Cairo. Phase 2, delayed from 2024, is now scheduled for 2026 at $7.8 billion. Plans include 2,000 schools, 18 hospitals, a 93,440-seat stadium, and entertainment districts. Phase 3, still on paper. No timeline, no budget. And given Egypt's deepening fiscal crisis, it may never happen. But it has no official name. It's simply called the New Administrative Capital, or NAC. Some Egyptians call it Sisi City after the president who championed it. The city is built. The government has moved, but the hardest question remains unanswered. Who's paying for all this? In 2015, President el-Sisi made a bold promise. The Egyptian state won't pay a penny for the new capital. Private investment from the UAE and China would fund everything. That's not what happened. After the UAE partnership collapsed over financial disagreements, Egypt's military stepped in. The numbers tell the story. In 2014, Egypt's external debt stood at $46 billion, about 15% of GDP. Total debt to GDP was around 50%, manageable by international standards. Today, external debt has surged to over $155 billion, more than triple. Overall debt to GDP sits at 89%, approaching high-risk territory. The killer? Around 60% of government spending now goes to debt service, paying loans and interest. That's 3 out of every £5 gone before a single hospital is staffed or school is funded. Egypt spent $58 billion building this city. Annual debt service costs approach that entire figure every single year. Where did the $58 billion come from? Government borrowing added billions to national debt. ACUD, a military-owned company, 51% armed forces, raised funds selling land plots, profits flowing to the military. Chinese loans provided $2.2 billion for the central business district, and Egypt privatized state assets to generate cash. Then came June 2025. China's State Construction Engineering Corporation didn't just build the CBD. They took operational control. A majority Chinese-controlled joint venture called Horizon Operations Management now manages everything: property, utilities, security, smart city technology. The financing? 85% Chinese. For CSCEC, it's brilliant business. For Egypt, it means the country doesn't control the economic heart of its own capital. A foreign company does. On top of loan repayments, Egypt pays operational fees to Chinese contractors indefinitely. The city, built to showcase independence, now depends on foreign control to function. But foreign control isn't the crisis. The real crisis: no one lives there. Designed for 6.5 million people, current residents around 5,000. That's 0.08% occupancy. Why? Ordinary Egyptians can't afford it. A typical government employee earns 6,000 to 9,000 Egyptian pounds monthly, $120 to $180. Apartments start at $100,000. That's 55 to 70 years of gross salary for one apartment. Mathematically impossible. Employee relocations, postponed from 2024 to 2025, now indefinitely delayed. The government can't force workers to move somewhere they cannot afford. Meanwhile, Egypt pays the price. With 60% of spending consumed by debt service, education is underfunded, hospitals struggle, Cairo's infrastructure crumbles. In August 2025, rent control ended, affecting 1.6 million families facing eviction. And the government approved another $2.9 billion for Phase 2 through 2029. More borrowing, more debt. Egypt is trapped in a fiscal doom loop. The pound collapsed, down 80% since 2016. Inflation peaked at 38%, now 11%. GDP growth can't keep pace. Egypt's options: keep borrowing, unsustainable; cut social spending, political risk; sell assets, running out; or default, catastrophe. The capital sits empty. Private investment promised billions but delivered $13.5 billion, falling short. No one can afford to live there. The government can't afford to maintain it. China keeps the lights on for a fee. As of early 2025, Parliament has moved. The government functions from the new capital. The buildings stand operational. But the core problem remains unsolved. Egypt built a $58 billion city it cannot afford. Only around 5,000 residents have moved to a city designed for 6.5 million. Most government employees still commute from Cairo. They can't afford to relocate. And with 60% of government spending consumed by debt service, Egypt faces an impossible choice: keep borrowing to finish Phase 2, or abandon the project halfway. The IMF's bailout loans demand Egypt cut spending and halt megaprojects. Yet Phase 2 is already committed at $7.8 billion. Egypt isn't alone in this struggle. Indonesia's Nusantara faces similar financial challenges and construction delays. Equatorial Guinea's Ciudad de la Paz became a complete ghost town, abandoned after spending billions. Egypt's capital sits somewhere between functional success and expensive failure. The engineering was impressive. A city built from desert in under a decade. But engineering brilliance doesn't solve fiscal crisis. What do you think? Bold vision or financial disaster? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more megabuild stories like Egypt's new capital, hit subscribe. We're covering the infrastructure projects that are reshaping our world one story at a time. Thank you for watching it.